Woman sees $5,000 missing from account, catches fiancé in the act. Their wedding was coming up and she couldn't be happier. But when he started to come home late, she checked their savings account and realized that $5,000 was missing from the total amount. She couldn't believe he had gone behind her back and spent the money. She confronted him. He would not ruin their marriage before it even began. Poor communication cost Cindy Lockwood her childhood. Her parents separated after her dad failed to mention that he'd been laid off from work and that they'd spent the next 2 years blowing through their family savings. This made Cindy swear always to speak her mind no matter the result. Little did she know that such a mindset would cost her her marriage and her future. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. Cindy dreamt of one thing in life. She craved a happy marriage that would see her live beside the love of her life until the end of her days. She met Trent, her soulmate, and he proposed after a thrilling 2 years of courtship. Elated, Cindy knew her dream was finally coming true. She didn't realize how wrong she was. Cindy and Trent lived in a tiny apartment in Denver, Colorado. Alongside this loving couple was the third member of the family, Izanagi, a 10-year-old German shepherd that was like a brother to Trent. Cindy worked as a painter, compiling her portfolio to begin putting her work out there, and Trent was a successful architect who was quickly making a name for himself in Denver. They were a happy family, but this happiness wouldn't last for long. One night, Cindy realized that Trent didn't come home at his usual time. Alarmed since Trent was never late, Cindy decided to call him. Trent picked up almost instantly. He told her he was swamped at work, apologizing for not telling her earlier. Cindy told him it was fine, but what was supposed to be a one-night thing repeated itself throughout the week. The second week passed and Trent kept up his new behavior. He'd call in at 8 to apologize and then show up past midnight. He even began taking the dog with him. Cindy wondered if he was out drinking, but he didn't seem drunk at all, only tired. Cindy's mind raced. She could understand her fiancé going out for drinks with his work friends. This didn't make any sense to her. Cindy fell into a whirlwind of overthinking. She had no idea what her fiancé was up to, but she was determined to find out. One night, she decided to call his office to see if he was working late. Trent's secretary informed Cindy that Trent had left the office. He'd been leaving the office in the evening for 2 weeks now. Cindy's knees buckled and she fell on the carpet. There was only one possible reason for Trent's secrecy. Broken, Cindy cried on the carpet for a while. Their apartment was suddenly smaller than it usually was. She took her phone and went to sit next to the fireplace. She wanted to call her mom, but a voice within her told her to check their bank account. If her fiancé was having an affair, surely there'd be evidence in there. She opened their bank account and her jaw dropped. Cindy's breath hitched. $5,000 was missing from the account. Trent wasn't only acting suspiciously, he was financing his promiscuity with their wedding funds. Fury welled within Cindy, overshadowing the pain she was feeling. She remembered how her dad had doomed their family by keeping secrets. She stood up, ready to call Trent, but the front door opened and he stepped into the living room. "Where were you?" Cindy asked, dry tears marking her face like war paint. Izanagi limped in after Trent. He looked at the dog, his eyes settling back on Cindy. "It's Izanagi," he said. "He was diagnosed with cancer about 3 weeks ago. I've been going to the city for a doctor." Trent slumped on the couch. "Didn't want to worry you with any of this." His head fell in his lap. He looked up and his eyes were wet with tears. Cindy looked at Izanagi, seeing brown bandages all around him, but her fury didn't subside. Trent hid this from her, making financial decisions without her. $5,000 meant for our wedding. "Trent, it's just a dog," Cindy screamed. Trent's eyes widened. "Just a dog?" His lips shook. He clenched his fists. Trent stood and took a step back. He scrubbed a hand down his face and walked away. Cindy remained in the living room with Izanagi. She whispered his name, but the dog whined at her and limped after Trent. Cindy looked in the direction they went, wishing she could take back her words. This is about trust, not money. She should have followed him to talk it out, but she didn't, and this sprouted another colossal problem. The night passed as quietly as it had started. In the morning, Trent did not dress up for work. He made breakfast as usual and sat across the table from Sydney. "You're selfish," he said calmly. His words cut deep through Sydney, but she wouldn't let Trent see this. "That dog, as you call it, Cindy, is my brother. He's my dog." He got up, begging Izanagi to join him. "We're leaving." Cindy sat alone in the apartment after Trent and Izanagi left. Even though they didn't pack any bags, Cindy was unsure if they were coming back. A crippling ache fired through her from her legs into her heart. Her stomach pained, her mind ran numb. Cindy tried calling Trent, but her call went straight to voicemail. But as she sat down defeated, her phone buzzed on the carpet. "I'm sorry," he said before she could speak. "I should have told you about this. Please forgive me. We're a team. I hope we stay like that." Cindy couldn't speak. She wanted to tell him how much she cared for Izanagi, but her words failed her. "Come home, please," she whispered, smiling amid tears. Poor communication wouldn't cost her marriage, as it did with her parents. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.